My name is Sang-Han Choi, and I am a student in the CSSE 120 class at Rose-Hulman. For my CSSE 120 project, I designed a robot to move and pick up objects based off of the theme of Starcraft. So, for those that aren't aware of Starcraft, Starcraft is a video game where players control one of three races, and there's an economy concept to the video game where you control workers in order to pick up objects and fuel the economy in order to produce soldiers and to fight off um, your opponents. So in the video game, the worker robots, at least in the Terran race, are called SCVs. And for my project, I designed my robot to act like one so that it would emulate the movements of an SCV where it moves around and it picks up the economy object known as a mineral. So the robot will have four different basic move functions where it moves forwards, backwards, left, and right. The robot will also move towards the mineral object, and once it has detected that it is close enough to the object, it will then sense the mineral and then start doing the mining action, which I've programmed it to emulate moving up and down moving the arm up and down, and that emulates the mining action. And then another function that I added in just for extra special effect is the SCVs. What the video game mechanic is known is called triggering a mine. So in the video game, there are small explosive devices that will track the player's workers. So in the case of the SCV, it will, if it gets close to the mine will explode. So in order to avoid this mine, I made it so that the SCV detects color, and then so it would detect the white mine, and then it would stop, and then the player would be able to control around it so that the object wouldn't the mine wouldn't blow up and kill the SCV. So this is the Tkinter GUI that my teammates and I created. My section's right here. You can click on the SCV simulator to enter it, and it shows up the next frame. So it's a basic frame. There's the several moving functions right here. The forward, left, right, backwards, and as well as the operating the arm function right here, which is noted by the mine. And then this is just this is just a reference to the video game once again. Not enough minerals, mine more minerals. It's a quote from the video game, and you often hear it. And it's a prompt telling you that you should start using your SCV, which we'll be using today to mine a mineral. So this is the robot that we'll be working with today. It's an EV3 bot that was provided to us by our professor. Okay, so we can see that the robot intelligently detects the white. So using the color sensor, it detects that there is a mine underneath it, and then it pauses so that the controller can move the robot around and not avoid getting damaged. So the real life setting that the SCV is going to have to go through is that it will have to go from its origin point to up to the mineral and pick it up and return it, just so that it can emulate the mining that the SCV does in the video game StarCraft. We're going to skip the moving animations because they're just basic forward and backwards, left, right controls, and just go straight into the different mechanics that I've designed for the SCV. Here you can see the SCV is moving its arms to pick up the blue object set on the little palette below, and it's emulating the mining animation in the video game by moving up and down, as it takes a couple seconds for the workers to pick up the minerals before it transports it back to home base. Here the robot has picked up the mineral, and it's now turning around to go back into home base. It's using the buttons that I designed inside the GUI, and it's approaching a mine, and we're hoping that the mine detection function works, and it does. The robot comes home after picking up the minerals in order to deposit it. The robot sets the mineral back down on the ground, and we're assuming that the ground is home base so that the mineral enters our economy, and then we can actually and do the video game mechanics, the rest of the video game mechanics with it. Looking at the school scoring sheet here, so the first bullet point is remote control and MQTT. Must be able to remote control the robot from a GUI. So I have the button set up so that my computer can communicate with the robot at the moment. I have a Tkinter GUI set up so that it can the controller or the user can easily go in between buttons to move back and forth, and also the mining button is there. For the sensors, I use 3 sensors. So that's the color sensor. I also use the touch sensor on the arm, and I also use the motors. I use my teammates library because I use the drive function as well as the color function, which were both coded by my teammates. And going into the excellent grade, the excellent quality section, the robot sends information back to my computer using the color sensor. The color sensor tells me what color the robot is currently analyzing at the moment when it's moving forward, and in doing so, it continuously sends information back to me, which I have it prints on the user's computer. I use 3 different sensors. So as mentioned earlier, I have creativity incorporated into my robot using the theme of Starcraft, which I've discussed earlier in the video, and complexity. So I have several while loops set into the robot. I also have a while loop for the sensor while it's moving. While the robot is moving, the robot also senses the ground at the same time. There is also the robot picks up the blue object and then turns around and then puts it back at home base as I've themed it. And I did finally I did frequent and regular pushes to my code so that my teammates could see my updates, and I also made sure to inform them outside of the class as well that I've pushed my code and they can take a look at mine if they need an example.